Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Matteo and I'm very excited today because we are gonna talk about the crypto market. Bitcoin has just reached $100,000, which is absolutely incredible. And as I've been in the crypto space for almost 5 years now, and before I was working in a crypto and proprietary trading company, I wanna give you guys my perspective on how to navigate this crypto market, and hopefully you can gain some juicy value from this. And just quick disclaimer, of course, this is not any kind of financial advice. This is just my personal opinion on the market. So guys, no financial advice, always do your own research. And now let's get straight into the content. A lot has happened these months for crypto. Bitcoin has reached $100,000. Before studying, I want to say that in my opinion, to understand how the crypto market works, you have to understand how macroeconomic works, right? I don't personally like, people screaming Bitcoin is going to 200,000, 300,000, stuff like that, because I think the best way to understand the market is actually to see what is going on in the economic world, and you can make the best decision when it comes to crypto. So first of all, I would like to clear the point that Bitcoin is a risk on assets. And what does that mean? So essentially, a risk on asset means that the capital flows into Bitcoin when investors are in a risk-on mode, okay? Which is the opposite from risk-off mode. And when are usually investors in a risk-on mode? When, for example, interest rates are low or interest rates are declining, and when there are favorable conditions for the capital markets. So for example, now that Trump has won the US presidential elections, this has been seen from the market as good, for the overall capital markets. And so the markets are more towards a risk-on perspective rather than risk-off perspective, right? And so this is why essentially the stock market and the crypto market have pumped in the last months. And yes, so essentially capital flows into Bitcoin when investors are in a risk-on mode, okay? Then, technology asset, and therefore as a high potential growth asset. And that means that the favorable conditions for Bitcoin are when investors are risk-on and when interest rates are low, because borrowing capital to invest in the market is low, and also when the risk of alternatives are not that as appealing. So for example, we've seen in crypto, the major bull market in 2021 when, everybody was talking about crypto, and I've experienced that bull market. The greed was there, okay? Everybody was talking about crypto, and that's usually not a good sign when to enter the market, right? You have to enter the market when nobody's talking about crypto, or a few people, but we'll cover this later. And so back then, interest rates were extremely low. There was a bull market, and also this was very favorable, not just for crypto, but also for example, venture capital. Venture capital is something that, venture capital invests more when interest rates are low and when investors are in risk on assets. And also valuation of companies, valuation of startups were even higher during 2020 and 2021. And then what happened? It happened that essentially in 2022, with inflation rising, the Fed decided to raise interest rates aggressively, and that essentially led tightening monetary policy that made capital to borrow more expensive. So interest rates went up to 4 to 5% for the US government bonds. And that meant that investors back then get a 4 to 5% return, essentially risk-free, okay, because investors could invest in the US government bonds and get those interesting returns without taking risk, okay? Whereas in years before, investors, if they wanted to, grow their portfolio, grow their assets, they needed to take risk. And so there was a risk-on period, okay? So with interest rates rising, risk-off assets such as US government bonds are more attractive, and that was why lots of capital, not just from crypto that almost crashed in 2022, but also from the stock market. Just look at the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq 100. A lot of capital moved from risk-on assets, so from the stock market essentially and crypto, to risk off assets, such as the US government bonds. And yeah, so this was just to say, I said, this is like probably the most important concept that I want you guys pass, that is Bitcoin is and crypto is a risk on asset. Okay. And now with Trump, markets are going into a risk on mode probably. I mean, we've seen, technologies, stocks, and, everything involved in the stock market pumping, and also crypto. So moving to Bitcoin and the crypto market. So this, guys, was to give you an overall picture of the macroeconomic environment we are in. Now the Fed is starting to lower interest rates, and so probably 2025 we'll see interest rates go down, and that is something favorable for the stock market and the crypto market in general. But one important key aspect to understand that I see a lot of people mistakenly is that, of course, interest rates go down and the overall market is risk on, well, crypto and stock market will go up. But remember, I believe in the market efficiency, which means that prices of securities, for example stocks, reflect the overall information that is available out there. I believe it in that. There are many papers that you can study about the market efficiency I can make, and in that video I think only a few companies in the world, such as the high level proprietary trading companies such as Jane Street Capital, Optiver, and some of the best out there, can exploit the small inefficiencies in the market and make huge profits. But in general, retail investors cannot, over a long period of time, you cannot beat the market. And so overall I believe in the market efficiency. And this is just to say that, okay, if we know, and I know, for example, that interest rate will probably go down in the 2025, well, also the whole market knows about it, right? Okay, you may not know this, but I'm talking about the big hedge funds and, the big players in the market already know what to expect. And so this is just to say that this is already priced into securities and to crypto and into the stock market, okay? It's already priced in. So the expectations are priced in. Okay, this is important because, for example, if we see the Fed cutting the rate and then the stock market going down, you say, okay, but the Fed cuts rates, market should go up. Well, that happens if rates are cut more than the expectations, because the expectations were already priced in. Okay, so the expectations that we have in 2025 for interest rates are already priced in securities, right? So remember this, and just only a few players in the world can, exploit inefficiencies. I can make an in-depth video on proprietary trading. I think this is a very interesting, word. But just to go back, what we are talking about. So this was to give you guys an overall picture of the macroeconomics, to understand how to place crypto into the overall picture. And now talking specifically to Bitcoin. Bitcoin has reached $100,000, which is absolutely incredible. Like it's really incredible to think about it. If I think myself, 5 years ago, approaching crypto first time, and guys, as I said, I made a lot of mistakes during, bull markets, bear markets. So I learned the hard way with more, and I have more wisdom now on the markets. Yeah, it's just incredible to witness. Where do I think this market will go? So now the market cap is of the whole crypto market is $3.6 trillion. So it's quite big actually. So I was looking at the numbers right now, and almost Bitcoin market cap is almost $2 trillion. So it's quite big. And now Bitcoin has reached $100,000. So now with Bitcoin at $100,000, what should investors do? Should people buy in? Should people not buy in? So my personal perspective, and I said this is not financial advice, is not to invest in Bitcoin at $100,000, because year to date Bitcoin has already made 136% in performance, which is incredible, right? So it has already pumped hard. So in my opinion, it doesn't make a lot of sense for the risk you would be taking on to enter Bitcoin at $100,000. And I'm talking about to the short to medium term. Of course, in the long term, I'm a huge believer in Bitcoin. Made my thesis of the, from the history of money, from cacao beans to gold to Bitcoin. So I'm a huge believer long term. But if you're looking to the short to medium term, I don't think entering Bitcoin at these prices would be the best thing. Okay, I know lots of people are screaming about Bitcoin at 150,000, Bitcoin at 200,000, Bitcoin at $300,000. I don't think Bitcoin is gonna reach $300,000 in this cycle, but who knows? There will be some point, guys, where BlackRock and the big hedge funds will dump their holdings in the market, right? And retail will be the extra liquidity for those big players. So you must be careful, right? So I've seen media talking about Bitcoin. We are entering the greed mode, so where people wanna chase the next thing and stuff. But I think there is absolutely an upside potential in the next months for crypto. That's why I'm still holding a bit of crypto. But Bitcoin in particular at $100,000 and with the market cap of 2 trillion is huge. Okay, and in my opinion, in the short to medium term, for the risk you would be taking on, because at the end of the day you have to have in mind your expected return for the risk you are taking on. You cannot just think about the return, okay, but also on the risk you're taking. And we can do an in-depth video on this because this is quite an advanced concept, but always think about the risk you are taking on for the return you might expect, right? So coin, I wouldn't hold that much at the moment, at $100,000, but I think it could be very good if you could, enter Bitcoin, with a major shakeout in the market, because we've seen the previous bull market, shakeouts all around, 20 to 30%. So if there's shakeout like that could be a good entry point. Of course, when there is this kind of huge shakeouts, people are fearful, but we always need to remember to be greedy when people are fearful and to be fearful when people are greedy. And so as said, this is my perspective on Bitcoin, and this is just to say, I think Bitcoin this cycle will hit around 150,000 or something like that. I don't have any kind of crystal ball. This is just, my thinking, but, nobody can predict the market, no? Because as said before, market efficiency, I cannot predict the market at all. Stay away from people who say that they can predict the market, because they cannot, okay? And yeah, so just my personal opinion. And wouldn't hold much Bitcoin right now for the risk you might take in. And yeah, so just to articulate, like if my perspective is Bitcoin to go to 150,000 and entering now, I know, and I've seen in the past, Bitcoin and crypto dumping 50%, so getting huge losses. And people thought, okay, this is like when Bitcoin was at $50,000. I remember people were saying, okay, Bitcoin cannot go below 30, and Bitcoin went to $16,000, guys. Okay, so this is extremely volatile. Anything can happen, and so for the risk you might be taking right now, I think Bitcoin does make a lot of sense. But I mean, I think Bitcoin will eventually go up in this cycle for sure. What I want to talk about is also, other crypto projects. People call them altcoins, so cryptos that are not Bitcoin. And in the altcoin, you can count in Ethereum and all the other coins. And I think, as said, and I think that the only crypto project besides Bitcoin that have like real utility and has some kind of intrinsic value really is Ethereum and a couple other more. But what I want to make clear is that all the other crypto are 99.9% speculation. It's unrealistic to value projects billions of dollars for some kind of technology or hype that's behind. It's just speculation, guys. So if you invest in the other crypto projects, just bear in mind not to hold long, because you wanna take profits aggressively. And also, this is my personal opinion, I said not financial advice, but take profits aggressively if you make profits, and then move the capital into something that has real value behind, such as I'm a huge fan of MSCI World Index and stock market, or big fan of Bitcoin when prices will go lower, or Ethereum. Like, this is my personal opinion. But yeah, just to say that this was just an introduction to what I think right now could be the best risk to return opportunity, which is altcoins. And Ethereum and the major altcoins can give you good returns for the risk you are taking in. Of course, guys, this is way more volatile than Bitcoin. I want to make this sure. And you should only invest the capital you are willing to lose. And this is because you have to bear losses and the volatility if that comes. but not, guys, don't do diamond heads holding, because that's not something I believe in. Altcoins should be just, for, in my opinion, to be held just for, months, not years, to make profits, and then move your capital to something that really has intrinsic value, such as, for example, the stock market and Bitcoin and Ethereum. So why do I think, altcoins can do very well? Well, first thing is because Ethereum, for example, has not reached its all-time high yet, whereas Bitcoin has led the way. And usually what happens in crypto, and lots of people talk about this, is that capital first flows into Bitcoin and then moves into altcoin, right? So capital flows into Bitcoin, Bitcoin reaches the ATH, so that's called all-time high. And then when, Bitcoin becomes a little bit boring, capital flows into more speculative projects such as altcoins, okay, because people are greedy, right? And they want to increase their gains and make more money. So yeah, that's usually how capital works. So let's say we start from a risk on period, okay, we're not in risk off, we're risk on period, capital flows into Bitcoin. Can be various narratives for the Bitcoin ETF, Trump won in the elections and so on. Then Bitcoin reaches all-time high, and at some point that capital will flow into, if we stay, of course, in a risk-on period, and for example, the Fed doesn't, higher interest rates or stuff like that, will flow into altcoins. So I expect Ethereum to perform well, and also the major altcoins such as, Tron, Avalanche, Link, Polkadot, Pepe, Aptos, and so on. So these are just of the names I'm bullish on. And there are, rather than saying you guys explicit names, I want to tell you guys like what I think is the best strategy to approach altcoins, which is by narrative. So the most promising narratives, of course, is because those are the narratives that will drive the most attention, are for sure AI. Okay, meme coins have performed very well. We'll see if they will continue, but for sure. Also, Solana ecosystem is doing well. Honestly, Solana, for me, it's currently overvalued because it stands at the market of $100 billion in market cap. For me, that's too much. But in general, the Solana ecosystem can do well. And so essentially, I would diversify into narratives, okay? So do not just hold the high, do not just hold Solana ecosystem, do not just hold memes, but rather, diversify in narratives, because nobody can know what narrative is gonna pop. So I like to see the whole altcoin market as a big pot where I want to be diversified, because I don't know what project is gonna double, triple in value, and which are gonna go to zero, guys, because there will be projects that go absolutely to zero. Must keep that in mind. And so just diversify through project. This is the approach I like. Just putting small chips into lots of projects, because you don't know what's gonna pop. And also do not hold altcoins too much, but we'll see how the market is performing. And if you want to keep track on how the capital is flowing into crypto from Bitcoin to the altcoins, you can look at the Bitcoin dominance chart. And for example, like in the last 15 days, so the Bitcoin dominance, which is essentially the how much market cap of the total crypto market cap is held by Bitcoin and what from other altcoins. So in 20 days ago was around 60%. And when you go, this number of the Bitcoin dominance goes down, it means that capital is flowing to more speculative projects such as altcoins. And now, for example, the Bitcoin dominance is 54%. So because in these 20 days, altcoins have performed well, have not exploded yet, but we'll see what happens. And if we see the Bitcoin dominance continues to go down, well, we'll see a run up for the major altcoins. And if we see, the Bitcoin dominance go up, well, Bitcoin will overperform altcoins. So that is my perspective on crypto. I'm bullish on especially altcoins in the coming months. And I think also Bitcoin can do well, but for the risk you'll be taking, I don't know if this is the best strategy to go if you are short to medium term. And one important thing that I want to make clear, guys, at the end is you'll see at some point, lots of people talk about crypto. And when you see like too many people talking about crypto, that's when is the time to take profits, right? So when you see people becoming too greedy, or people in the streets talking about crypto, or you join a taxi and taxi driver talks about crypto, you enter a coffee bar, barista talks about crypto, or you just your group of friends, everybody's talking about crypto, well, that for me is the time to sell. I remember last cycle, there were these signals, but I wasn't able, to understand them. And so I didn't, take profits. I made some mistakes, but this time I'm wiser, and I'm looking at these signals in the market to see when we are overextended. And also another important thing is people calling the end of the cycle by end 2025. Hope it's gonna last that long, but another important thing that I learned is that the market will pump for less months than the people expect. And yeah, we'll see, guys. I'll keep you posted on that. So this is my current perspective on the market and how to navigate it. So first, look at the macroeconomics, see if this is a favorable market condition. Then understand the risk-reward ratio you are taking when you are investing in crypto. Always do your own research, and yeah, don't hold too much, but rather than diversify in the traditional capital markets when you made gains. But yeah, Bitcoin is something that I really believe in the long term, but you have to be careful, of course, in the medium to short term. So yeah, that's it for this video, guys. If you want more videos on crypto, please let me know in the comments, and I'll be happy to cover more topics. And let's see how this crypto markets evolves, and see you onto the next video.